All right, I think we're up. This is just a chill stream on a weekend with Diogenes. We're gonna shoot the shit, talk about anime, politics, whatever the fuck. It'll be nice and comfy. No drama, no gay shit. Diogenes, you there?
Yes, my apologies. I suppose we'll start off with Berserk then, huh?
Oh yeah, sure.
Well, I suppose my first question is, what do you think of it? Fucking story, the meaning, the message,
Uh,
the fucking characters, whatever. What's your interpretation of the whole thing?
well, I think obviously the Golden Age arc is like the best, some of the best manga ever made. Uh, like between just all the character dynamics, the action, just the art. It's really just outstanding. And then it gets really good for like the Black Knight stuff, and then it just piddles off into nothingness where we are now.
Yeah, fucking, the Golden Age arc. I remember the first time I saw it and read it. You know, the original series, which was fucking amazing. It was a masterpiece, really. It had great characters, great pacing. Animation was great. And fucking, I like to interpret it in a really dualistic kind of way, a dichotomy between the red and the black pill, sort of.
Why do you say
Guts sort
that?
of Guts would be like the black pill, so to speak. He's just straggler, the struggler, the fucking what do you call it? The guy that just wanders off into the fucking wilderness, fights beasts along the way. Just a constant battle for survival, and all it is, the thrill of the fight. You don't have any control. You have all
I
these.
don't think Guts is black pilled. He's still going after Griffith. He just you know it takes him a while, and he has to go through a bunch of shit.
Yeah, it's because the black's sort of the underbelly behind the red pill, so to speak. You delve into the fucking darkness, and you try to come out the other side stronger as a result. Fight for something. Sort of like in the Golden Age arc, he was just fighting because Griffith told him to. That was his purpose. But then he decided he wanted to branch out and find his own, right?
Yeah.
And that's sort of the transition between the black and the red, and it's a constant struggle. It's sort of the struggle of man, really. The
Well,
desire
it
and
was the only reason Griffith did all that shit is because Guts wouldn't fuck him. Griffith the homo boy.
is that what you think? Like, there's definitely that implication, but
I don't think I wouldn't call it an implication. I think it's a fucking reality.
I choose to interpret it. Perhaps I'm biased, but fuck, I choose to interpret it as, for example, he was all upset when Guts left, right? He viewed
Yeah.
him as property, so to speak. He belonged to him, and I think it was more of a not so much a sexual thing, but a psychological thing, domineering and dominating, owning people. Guts was this sort of perfect soldier to him. Uh,
I don't know. I think there definitely is an aspect like the fucking audio tracking is not working on FaceRig, so I'm just like talking and not moving my mouth. But the it's clearly laid out that there's some sort of sexual undertone because he like immediately goes to criminally assault the princess after Guts like rejects him basically.
yeah, he felt demasculated. He needed to sort of feel that high, that pride, so to speak. Could have gone after Casca. That's one thing to consider.
He didn't
But
even
no.
care about Casca. He doesn't give a shit
Yeah,
about Casca. I never did.
instead he decides to go and fuck the princess, even though he knows the risks behind that. He could have had any woman really, but he chose to go for that one because she was forbidden.
Uh,
It's all about taking what he can't
okay, yeah, I
have.
think all right.
And
The mouth
so that's how
tracking
it,
should work now.
and that's kind of where I'm getting at with Guts is he wants what he can't have. He wants everything. He wants a kingdom. It's sort of he wants the Tower of Babylon. He wants to be king. I've Guts leaving him sort of made him feel as though he was powerless, so to speak.
I don't know. I think there is definitely that the sort of competition aspect, and but I think it was more. There's definitely some fucking undertones there, and I don't think the author shies away from that. But I don't know.
Yeah, because fucking like when he's talking to the princess and he says that they're not my friends. A person's my friend has to be my equal even if they oppose me. And when Guts left Griffith, he thought he was doing what Griffith wanted him to do, so to speak, and he just perhaps thought that Griffith just wanted to fucking have Guts prove that to him. All right, beat me in a sword fight and then go. Be equals. But instead, think Griffith was probably just trying to impress the girl, honestly, and he couldn't accept the fact that he considered Guts a friend, because his whole identity was based around his ambition for ascending to nobility and rulership and whatnot.
No,
Couldn't bring
I
himself
don't know.
to consider Guts a friend consciously.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, he didn't consider him his equal friend with respect. He just wanted him to control him and do what he wanted to do. And when Guts like was doing his own thing, that it broke him.
Yeah, and I definitely hear you with the sexual stuff. I like to think that it's open to interpretation. A lot of animes do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like hard cut, but it's definitely there.
Yeah, like did Lelouch die at the end? Well, it's what you want to think.
Fucking fucking what Code Geass is a stupid anime.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched it once when I was like maybe 16. I haven't really gone back.
Yeah, I only watched it once. I wish I kind of watched it with 4chan as it aired, because that's probably, it would have been hilarious to shit show every week. It's one of those shows where it's better to watch weekly than it is, in a marathon, just because it relies on retarded like pacing and twists and shit.
I recently, well, we'll get into that later, but yeah, the Golden Age arc was pretty damn good. Fucking, it was just a goddamn masterpiece. And the first time I watched it, I didn't see any of that shit coming. And then it gets into the Black Knight, which gets a lot fucking crazier. Monsters are roaming the world, and that's Forges gets the Dragon Slayer fucking arm, and then it just gets crazier and crazier, man.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that they fucked up the new series. Have you seen any of it?
No, I've not watched any of it. I've just read the manga, so I haven't really watched any of the animated versions. So I've heard they're subpar compared to the comic itself, except for like the original anime.
Yeah, I bet it is. The only good one really was the original fucking Golden Age arc from back in the 90s.
Yeah,
pretty damn good. But now they have a new one out.
and they had like a shitty 3D movie, and then they have like a shitty 3D series, and it's just like,
yeah.
how is it fucking that classic end up getting disgraced like that?
Yeah, because I can't remember the name of the guy, but they had some guy who was in charge of making it, who's only ever made, I don't even know how to describe it, but you know, those fucking, the chibi fucking, just lighthearted, weird ass shit, you know? It's not in the realm of Berserk, it's up the alley of, just
I don't know.
also
Obviously, they also had no fucking money at all, so.
Well, yeah, but like, I don't understand how they could fucking be so neglectful with something that was so good.
Just because of how the Japanese anime industry has ended up recently.
Yeah, and I don't know much about the industry as a whole at all.
It's just that there's like infinite number of fucking studios making like almost like 80 shows a season, and everybody's like scraping for like to try to make a mega hit, and it's very competitive, and I guess it's good for in some sense, but you don't get consolidation of like a big artful project like you used to.
Yeah, and fucking that's one thing that's, if I might make an assumption, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because like I said, I don't know anything about the industry, but why is it then that, the mega hits, so to speak, like Naruto, Bleach, all them, One Piece, they have just a never-ending amount of fillers, a lot of which don't even contribute
those
to
aren't
the
really even
overarching
mega hits.
story.
Those are just long-running serializations in the most popular magazine, Shonen Jump, which is just like the biggest company magazine, and they take the toppest lowbrow stories, and then they extend them hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of chapters serialized, so people just keep buying them. And it's just like The Simpsons. It'll just keep going until like it eventually dies.
Yeah, they milk the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Naruto used to be, just about ninjas.
I'm
and
more
shit, but then it
talking
ended up
about
becoming...
the seasonal airing 13 episode, 26 episode anime is the studios have become there's so many of them, and they've all broken up, and they're just working on these shoestring budgets, adapting like crappy light novels, and trying to like do low budget advertising jobs for all these companies to try to make enough money that they can do a passion project. And more often than not, their passion project falls flat on their face. There's been a few decent ones recently, but it's usually not the norm.
Yeah, there's only a handful of shows that I consider to be fucking absolutely great, but to be fair, I haven't seen a shit ton of them. What did you think about Evangelion?
Evangelion. I like it. I mean, for its time, it was definitely a sort of hallmark anime. It was trying to make fun of all the like the waifu shit and and sort of uh, make a depressing, realistic version of the sort of mecha fantasy. Ironically, it ended up just becoming the most popular mecha fantasy for a long time, and and the
Some of the
director,
biggest waifu fags.
yeah, and the director rehashed in the just kind of like the Star Wars prequels. He made like shitty CGI sequels and rebuild, and he's basically like the George Lucas of anime. He made some dank ass shit, Gunbuster and Evangelion, and then he made shitty prequel, shitty remakes that have like CGI in them.
Yeah. Like the only good part about those movies, I guess, would be the ending. But it was just a lot of fucking symbolism and wacky shit,
Yeah,
man.
honestly, I hope Anno just lets the fucking thing die after he finishes whatever 4.0,
I didn't
whenever
realize he
he's
was
making
doing
it.
another one.
It was always
I don't see.
planned. It's just that I don't know. It's in development hell. I mean, 3.3 was in development hell, and then they scrapped like the whole script, rewrote it, and that's why it was such a shitty film, among other reasons. But
Yeah, I mean, I just appreciated the fact that they had that sort of Freudian psychology in there and the fucking philosophical shit and some fucking.
yeah, I mean that was always the case even back in the original one. But the
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that like the Kabbalah in the sky and all that, and in their intro every single fucking time you see it right there, the body of God.
yeah,
And then they designed the cockpit of the fucking what do they call them, the Avas, basically like a womb,
well, yeah, there's
and
a
it turns
tons
out.
of Freudian shit. It's a Freudian anime, which is interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. Although I'm not a big fan of Freud and his envy and
It's goofiness.
yeah, just all that bullshit. I'll get into that with Halsey.
You're gonna talk about Freud with Halsey?
Well, he was a prominent Jew in the development of the pathologizing of Goyam psychology. His nephew Edward Bernays was modern father of American propaganda.
Mm,
He did not do the Goyama service, just one branch of a tree.
sure. Yeah. Any other anime you want to talk about? Movies, manga?
Fucking I just throw something at me.
Well, I don't really know what you've seen. I've
Fucking
seen shit tons, so I know I've
oh
seen
yeah.
probably seen a lot of stuff. Like if I mention it, you won't know. So what have you seen?
Well, I can give you a list, but I also I don't know if anybody's gone down this rabbit hole before, but I think Naruto, included
Naruto.
anyway,
I don't want to talk about
might
fucking
be.
Naruto.
But listen here, it might be red pilled, man.
No, it's not. It's the gateway anime of the worst kind.
I've seen the copy pasta, but hear me out. Hear me out.
All right,
All
what's
right,
red pilled about Naruto?
all right. So there's a bunch of fuck countries, very similar in nature, but also very different, kind of like Europe, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. Different subcultures. And they're constantly at fucking war with one another. Turns out there's a shadowy organization of dangerous and powerful criminals, and they're turning them against each other. But it turns out the supposed leader of this group is merely a puppet of a ancient and dastardly enemy, who in the end ends up being nothing but a pawn to a ancient and malevolent god, i.e.,
Hmm.
LOGH. And they want to rule the world and unite the world under one big government system, so to speak, by casting the eternal Tsukiyomi on everybody, the eternal illusion.
Understandable. Yeah, but I mean that's just sort of a plot that's pretty common in fiction. I wouldn't say just because Naruto uses it, it's like a great representation of fighting an evil cabal.
Oh, it might not be a great representation. I'm just saying there might be some red pill parts about it. I hate the fillers.
No, well, I mean, what any red
And
pill thoughts are discounted because of the There's just like the stupid power level, like self-insert
Oh yeah.
shittiness, and the
Oh yeah.
waifus and all that stuff, and it just makes it bad.
It really is fucking cringy. Like you get like there's only about like a handful of hours that are good in that whole show.
Yeah.
Fucking throw something at me.
Well, besides Naruto, have you seen Gundam?
No.
No Gundams at all.
No, I have a list that I'm supposed to watch though. I've seen fucking I've seen Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
All right, that's a good one. I could talk about that for a while. That's a pretty great anime.
Yeah, let's start with there. Fucking they got into the democracy versus authoritarianism.
Well, yeah, Fascism versus Democracy, the anime. It's honestly like one of the best works on, or at least film slash movie. I mean, film slash TV works of like Fascism versus Democracy I've ever seen. I'm certainly there's probably
Oh
books
yeah.
that are more elucidated on the subject, but as far as like a sort of pop cultural story on it, I don't think anything else has been done of comparable quality.
Yeah, and it was just a really smart show. It had a lot of historical parallels, you know, Alexander
Yeah,
the Great, and
it
all of it
was.
really hit into.
Yeah, it
It got
really.
into some of the. It was pretty red pill as a whole, fucking showing the democracy. While it might uphold individual freedoms to an extent, it's ultimately susceptible to corruption and degradation from within, and the complacency of the people. Whereas authoritarianism gets things done. You know, it's the fastest route to
Yeah,
radical change, but it's ultimately rather unstable considering it's just passed on from heir to heir, and you can never guarantee that your heir is going to uphold
what
the
I
ideals that you.
what I like about Legend of Galactic Heroes is the author keeps it fundamentally not really Japanese. He doesn't put all those stupid Japanese tropes and ideas in it. It's
Oh yeah, it's
definitely.
pretty serious.
Yeah.
There's
He
a little
he definitely
humor, but
writes
it's
it
done well.
from a very well educated stance, and he doesn't like have all the sort of the Japanese cultural trappings, making it like it would appeal to a Western audience. And I've shown it to friends who don't watch much anime, and they quite liked it.
Oh yeah,
After they
it's an easy
sit through it.
it's an easy one to recommend people that ultimately aren't into the genre of anime at all. But if they just have any sort of mind for history or politics or anything, they might enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the question of all questions: Yang Wen Li or Reinhard Lohengrin?
Uh, well, I think Yang is kind of a Mary Sue. Uh,
Yeah, a little bit.
yeah, he kind of
Marty Stew.
Marty Stew, Gary Stew, Mary Sue. He every time he comes up with like a plan or a tactic or like predicts something, it's just like, oh, that's what's gonna happen, and he doesn't really have side characters that really support him. It's just really Yang the genius, and everybody else is like on his wild ride. And Reinhardt more is he has a bunch of like very talented advisors, and he's struggling with like the inner politics, and he rules well based off of his own his council of advice.
Right, and
So
he's
he's
not,
less of
and
a Gary Stew.
yeah, he's not perfect, and he slips up sometimes, and you see him struggle with that. And I think
Yeah,
that's one thing that sort of relates to Caesar and Alexander and all the great men in history is that one of the hallmark qualities of any great man is that they're able to recognize and utilize talent around them. But yeah, in Yang Wen Li's case, he just, a lot of it is just plot armor, really, because in battle, not everything is certain. Just sort of, you can attribute a lot of it to sort of luck and just plot armor.
yeah,
Although they do write it off smartly enough, I suppose they make it believable. But I do hear you when you say they use a Marty Stew.
yeah. Like without doing any sort of like advanced intelligence gathering, he just sort of guesses what's going on perfectly, and then proceeds from there, and it works out for his side. Uh,
Yeah, and he's always trying to do the right thing, for no other
uh,
reason than.
my friend who I got to watch it said that Yang was actually the villain in the series because keeps fighting for democracy even though there's nothing particularly good going on in the Republic side. Like the Republic side's basically a defunct country by the time the war starts, and that if he just surrendered, millions of people wouldn't have had to die. But because of his idealism, he basically fights this war and causes millions and millions of the people in the story to die.
Yeah, and he did it for the sake of, his rationalization for it was that nobody can really be able to conclusively decide between, one or the other. He wants to sort of be on the fence. He wants to fight for democracy just so that there's opposition of authoritarianism. But wants to sort of keep the spark alive so that it could be kindled in the future once the authoritarians become too
Yeah,
corrupt
so
or
he
whatever. But
sacrificed millions of lives just to keep a meme alive, basically, the meme of democracy.
right, and he should have just sort of concluded that if people want democracy, they'll take it. And I'm pretty sure he actually got into that in the show. He wasn't exactly retarded.
Yeah,
He
he
understood the
understood what worked.
appeals. He understood the appeals of authoritarianism and the problems with democracy. But he just concluded that it's best to keep at least a small portion of the galaxy aligned with that.
Yeah, but still,
For whatever
Reinhardt offered him like a position, and he could have done that kind of what he wanted in sort of trying to make things a bit more democratic within that position. But he just
Yeah, because he had no
opted
interest in
instead.
politics. He
Yeah,
didn't want to be a politician. He was a tactician. That's about it.
yeah. I think there is a decent amount of filler in that series, but usually the filler is pretty interesting, like the history episode, where it's
Oh yeah,
just
there was a little filler, but they did it well because fillers aren't inherently a bad thing, but they just have to contribute something to the overarching plot, unlike, the big ones that just go off on these weird ass tangents, aren't even remotely connected to the story. Like I remember Bleach did like some sort of alternate reality Halloween thing or some shit, I can't remember. But it's just stupid.
yeah.
But like they made the history episode to sort of, expand on the history of the world and the plot and everything, and it filled you in more.
And that's
They
where
did it well.
that's where like half of the little red pilled screenshots come from. Is the history episode? It's like a red pill documentary
Exactly.
about why the old
How it
Weimar
leads,
society crashed.
it led into degeneracy and complacency and corruption and
Yeah,
collapsed. And it was interesting to learn about how, pretty much the first several hundred years that colonization in space became a thing, the world had been nuked a bunch of times, the human population dwindled, and first few centuries that they were in was just constant corruption and warfare and more death. Like it was a rough ride until they actually got to the point that there were galactic federations. And even once those federations were formed, the Empire and the Republic, it only led to more bloodshed, but just in space. And that sort of gets into that cliche philosophical inquiry concerning more technology evolves, the less we succeed in keeping up with it.
oh god, the chat is such cancer.
Yeah, I'm not really reading it.
Don't read it. Yeah, you guys can continue abusing my chat for your machinations, but I will not respond to your nonsense. All right, well, let's move on away from Legend of Galactic Heroes. I mean, it's hard to top Legend of Galactic Heroes.
It's pretty fucking patrician. Yeah, that's for sure.
Uh, exactly. Have you seen
Fucking
Gunbuster?
no.
That's a good one. Has like it's kind of like Top Gun, but with like robots and aliens.
What was it called? Arslan Senki.
Arslan Senki. I never watched it. I heard of it.
Yeah, they didn't finish the show though,
Yeah.
so that kind of pissed me off. I started watching Rurouni Kenshin recently.
Rurouni Kenshin's very good, but after you'll know when it's supposed to end, and you should just drop it at that point.
Yeah, I'm still in the first season, and like there seems to be a few filler episodes.
There's going to be filler episodes. There's like quite a number of good seasons. You'll know when you're getting to the stopping point. You'll get there, and there's shit after it, but don't bother watching it.
Yeah, because I'm still in the first season, and I figure, all right, here's this guy. He's a nice guy. He's reasonable, but he's also got this, beast inside him, this killer.
Yeah, Rurouni Kenshin does all
And
the
he
sword play really well. I quite like it.
and he's kind of a fucking Marty Stew a little bit, but he does find opponents now and then that challenge him or almost kill him. But I'm just trying to fucking see if I get to the point where he actually gets a challenge.
Oh, he definitely gets
In that
challenged.
right, and that killer has to come out.
Yeah, that definitely becomes later part of the show. I'm
Yeah, I'm
sure you'll
hoping
enjoy it.
so.
The show stays really good until a certain point, kind of like Death Note. It stays really good to a
Yeah.
certain point, and then it like meanders on when it really doesn't need to. Kind
Yeah,
of
I was gonna
a
bring up
classic
I was gonna
problem with
bring up Death
Japanese
Note.
writing.
We can get into that in
Yeah,
a minute. But fucking yeah, I was worried about the swordplay at first because in the beginning, you just see, fucking oh bam, all these guys are are down. You don't really see him swinging a sword at all. And I was like, all right, yeah, they're trying to tell me that this guy's powerful, strong, can take all down all these dudes, fine. But I wanted to see an actual sword fight, not just little fucking
oh, yeah. The
flash.
sword fights get better as the series goes on too.
Right, because fucking in the first few episodes, all you see is fucking just little flash. What do you call it? Slideshows
They
of
got to save their
scenes going.
budget.
Yeah, fucking. I want to see that dude freak out. I want to see that guy become an animal. I want to see him kill somebody,
Yeah,
or at
that'll
least almost
maybe.
get there. Yeah, don't spoil it, but fucking,
I
I
won't
want to see him
spoil
go
it.
beast mode. Yeah, I want to see him go beast mode.
Yeah, I do. I do definitely like the Batosai sections of the show.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the other anime we were gonna talk about? Fuck.
Death Note. I was
Oh yeah,
reluctant to bring it up because it is a kind of a meme anime, but
it
it's
is.
not bad.
It's not terrible. I've definitely
Fucking,
watched a lot worse anime in my time. It's just there's a
I've
point
actually
where it
watched.
ends, and you don't need to watch it after that.
I mean, I watched both seasons. They had two with L and then Ear and Mellow. And
Yeah,
I thought it was done pretty well the second season. I could argue that the first one was better, but they at least make it coherent, makes sense.
yeah. Like the plot makes sense. The mystery sometimes it becomes contrived and like how it goes on and stuff. But I mean, it's just a lot of writing will become contrived when you have to make it go a long length. And then there's definitely the peak of the series when a certain person kicks the bucket, and then you're supposed to drop it. I watched it to the end after it, and it was a mistake. I should have just dropped it at that point, and I would have remembered it much more fondly.
You didn't like the second season?
No,
What for?
it was just like after L dies, it's like who cares? Like I don't care about this L knockoff. I don't care about them like fighting this guy who gets basically writer retard. The writer gives him retardation, and then he fucks up and loses.
I mean, basically the rationale for why Light lost was he became too arrogant, too cocky. He delegated too much of his personal power to other people just because they were loyal and because he didn't take enough action himself.
Yep.
Became too caught up in the god complex, and that ultimately led to his downfall. He was deceived because he underestimated Nier, because he's like, oh fuck, I defeated L. What's this fucking knockoff L gonna do? Just a child, just a wannabe. And ultimately that allowed Nier to fucking kick his ass.
Mm-hmm.
So it does make sense. I mean, Light had a god complex, and pride cometh before the fall.
Yeah, but
After
I
all,
feel like they could have done something else with like instead of Nier, they could have had a different character that related to L in some way, in a more concrete way, so you cared about them more. So I just didn't care about this random orphan who's like, oh, I like L.
yeah, I could hear that. They were just orphans that I guess were autistic as fuck, and apparently were tutored by L, allegedly. I don't even know.
Allegedly, yeah. I mean, whatever. I think the author was making it up as he went along at that point.
Yeah, I do hear you there. They could have done something different. They could have done it better.
Yeah, that
Definitely could have been worse.
I think that is one complaint that can be levied against a lot of the Japanese writings. They can't write a fucking ending. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. A lot of them are just either shit or just left up to you because they're too pussy to make it conclusive.
yeah, and it's sort of because I read about this in the classic Japanese literature. It's not they don't have their stories in like the classical Western sense where there's like just an arc and then there's the start, middle, and end. They sort of it goes on, things happen, and then it meanders out. Like they're their classical literature doesn't usually have concrete endings like the West does, and that's why a lot of their modern literature also lacks concrete endings.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this the other day when I was watching fucking shows, fucking what Eastern ones. We have the traditional hero story, the Jungian sense, but it's a lot older than him. He just rehashed it basically. And yeah, it is definitely different from the East. Usually in a Western story, the very basic way that I can put it is, boy, some sort of uncertain past, wakes up in some sort of stagnant place. Something awakens him, calls him to action. He faces some adversity. He finds a teacher. He faces another challenge. Struggles with doubt to
Yeah,
sort of leave the fight,
there's
give up, and then he finds something to reinvigorate him, or maybe he finds another helper. Then he confronts the enemy, and
yeah
then
the
he
hero
wins.
the hero's tale. There's a few of those. And, I mean, Japan definitely. I mean, it's a common story, and Japan has made many heroes' tales, but it for a lot of their writing, they don't have ending.
I think probably speaks of a collective sort
Lahaim
of
Diogenes isn't an
uncertainty.
Aesop. Diogenes is a based man.
I think both are equally cringy, to be honest.
What?
Call me an Isaleb, that's cringe. Call me based, that's also cringe. I'm neither.
You're based in none.
I'm a based Anon. Oh yeah, I guess that's true. I could have picked a better name. To be honest, like I used to be Nefane, right? That's what I started off as.
Yeah,
But I used Diogenes as my profile picture just because I thought it looked funny, right?
he's a cool
Sort of
dude.
wanted that to be my. I wanted that to be my thing because just he doesn't care. He's not here to fucking uh save the fucking world or have people suck his fucking dick. He's just here to fucking
Shit
hold up a
post.
chicken and
He was the
masturbate
original
on.
shit poster. Yeah, he shit
Right.
posted against the
But
Athenian philosophers, and they're like,
yeah,
"Fuck, stop shit posting."
I was Nefane and everybody called me Diogenes because of my picture, and I was just like, all right, I'll just go with that because that's what people are calling me. So
And nobody knows how to fucking pronounce it.
yeah, that's one thing that's fucking funny. Even I don't know if you saw, but Halsey himself
Yeah,
mispronounced it.
yeah, fucking
Uh,
Halsey was on yesterday. We were talking to Dawson, and he I've been talking to Diogenes on Twitter. And I'm like, come on, Halsey.
yeah, he said that on Warski Live though when he was debating Dawson. He was like, oh, if I might show real quick, and they read a super chat. He said, I'm gonna be on the Kumite Monday with I think Diogenes.
Diogenes. Diogenerate, honestly.
Diogenerate, yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
It's very Diogenerate.
Yeah, I am a Diogenerate. The other day I fucking appeared on BYBS and started burping, but I mainly did it for comedic value. I showed up late to the party. Like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm not a drunk Hitler. How dare you insult Uncle Hitler like that?
Drunk Hitler. Did Hitler even drink? I'm not like a Hitler fanboy.
No,
I don't.
he only did amphetamines as far as I'm aware. Didn't even
He was just a
masturbate.
meth head.
Yeah, reportedly he didn't even masturbate.
I mean, why would you? And you're a fucking dictator. He probably fucked a bunch of like slave women all the time.
Well, I mean, I think he had at least one woman, but I don't know.
He had
I haven't.
concubines. He was a fucking dictator. All dictators have concubines and shit.
I'm the G.G. Allen of blood
You've
sports,
seen those
apparently.
fucking pictures where Hitler's
Oh,
just
yes, I
walking
have.
down the line, and all the fucking frauds are like, "Oh, impregnate me, Hitler Sama."
Yeah, it's often led me to suicide. Well,
Why?
the desire of suicide, because I was never able to become the official booby inspector of the National Socialist Party in Germany. Have you seen those women? Real women before they became extinct due to cultural Marxism and voting rights and sexual liberation and Xanax. Plus, they look fucking good. They just look fucking good, man. Aryan women. Now they're all fucking smoking meth and sucking degenerate dick.
Yeah, fucking. Unfortunately, World War II had a lot of aftershocks that we're still
Especially in
living with.
Japan. Holy shit.
Yeah. Although
Now look at
honestly,
Japan.
two nukes was just the right amount. It was just what they needed to produce a hilarious art form that we all know and love, anime.
Yeah, fucking. They used to be warriors, man. I mean, just like the West. And I love Japan for the fact that they still have, for the most part, clung to their ethnic identity and their tradition. At the same time, they have a huge underbelly of just absolutely degenerate shit, almost on par with the West, and worse in certain ways.
Yeah, but I mean that's any free modern society is going to have that once they've got pet. Once they're irreligious and they're free, they're like that shit's just going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if we can sustain ourselves that way. I honestly don't
Well,
think so.
Japan does have this degenerate underbelly, but they at least have like
A
this
strong work ethic,
work ethic, and they do have
communal values,
television
family.
censorship laws that try to like they have like you can't show any underage people drinking on television or smoking.
Aqua, sorry to interrupt you, but Aqua, to answer your question, I'm not gonna scream. There you go. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, but yeah,
Right.
on advice on that, when you actually go on with Halsey, he when he was debating Dawson, he basically Dawson would go on his patented paragraph about extreme detail about like the Zionist history and evilness, and then Dawson would just like make a non sequitur. So just if he goes to a non sequitur, just repeat yourself and make him force him back onto the point that he's ignoring.
Yeah, I think I have a good idea, a rough idea of what I'm gonna do. Fucking I know his tricks, so to speak, because I've noticed in his debates that he changes his mind to win the argument to fit his agenda. In his
Yeah,
debate with Enoch, he was like, Israel is not an ethno state; it has Muslim minorities. And then with Dawson, he was
yeah.
like, oh, it is an
Japan
ethno state.
Japan does have shitty what you call it. They have like the like porn channels with no age restrictions on content. Kind of like old HBO used to have. Like it used to be old HBO was the only thing that would air like MA TV. Uh, and then the rest of the public channels they have like strict guidelines on content, uh, moral guidelines and shit. Not that it really. I don't. I think they do. They have eliminated the drug problem in their drug culture pretty well, which is impressive on their part. Um, but yeah, I don't think the a lot of the I don't think their moral edicts hold completely.
Yeah. Uh, what measures have they taken to address their drug problem exactly?
Oh well, they just have very harsh punishments for any drug use or possession or sale. Uh,
Oh yeah.
like I think use is like 5 years and sale is like 20, and like hard labor included. The Japanese prison
Holy shit.
system. The Japanese prison system does not fuck around. If you end up in the Japanese prison system, you're going to hate life, and
Damn,
that's
is
how it should be. The fucking if prison should be a scary thing. The degenerates should fear it. It shouldn't be a paid vacation.
yeah, I suppose you're right, and I'm guessing it's probably state funded, or
That
is it
that always
private
fucking
industry?
gets me. It's state. Japan has very heavy state involvement in all their businesses and stuff. Um, but the what always gets me is like Breivik shot like what, like 100 people or something, 120 people, and then he gets like this. He basically lives like a king compared to average Westerners in this like this cell. He gets like a PS4 with an online connection, and his lawyer like argued that he needs like a new console and shit. It's like fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the same way with people in America that are well connected or wealthy. They go to country club prison.
Yeah,
You
we
know?
have country club private prisons in our country just the service
And
the white collar crimes.
yeah, the prison system in America is a business. It's all about profit. It's all
Yeah,
about ranking in the dollars. And
this is
state
why
offers subsidies to most
this
corporations,
this
the
is why
prison
we
industry included.
lawyers should never be allowed to hold public office because they'll make a fucking system where lawyers will just continuously profit and make more shitty laws and it's a complete shit show. Japan culture with 14-hour work drinking with boss at day. You don't have time to try drugs. I guess that's true, Aqua. Uh, but I mean, they don't really work that whole time. They work for like 6 hours and then they just like appear to be busy. And then they have drinking parties where they just have to like they have to sit around and drink for 4 hours. So I mean, I'd rather have that than I don't know, fucking no vacation
Yeah,
time ever.
and fucking they did address their whole high suicide rate, fucking
Yeah.
all that because also because a large contributing factor to that was stress from work. They worked long hours and whatnot. But they address that by they have a shit of fucking national holidays in Japan. They get plenty of fucking time off now, and they have a different work ethic over there. It's sort of a team-based thing where
Yeah.
if the company does well, the individual workers and whatnot, the managers, they're all rewarded as a result. It's not
They
just
have a very hierarchy based,
yeah,
seniority based society, and that has
it's not
ups and
so
downs, but it does provide them a lot more stability compared to the West.
not so much wolf eat wolf. It's pack on pack. You know, if
Yeah.
the collective succeeds, the individual succeeds, and there's a lot more unity in that and pride in their work. And a lot fucking better than the dog's life of the Western man these days. I think we could take a page from him.
Yeah. I mean that's because they have like a united, homogeneous society. I think if they were subjected to the same pressures that the U.S. was from the '60s onward, they would end up in a similar dire strait where they don't cooperate with each other or care about each other's countrymen. And even in like right wing circles, people like fucking chest beat and be little shits about their fellow countrymen, and they're not cooperative or helpful to each other, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. If they were subjected to multiculturalism, I highly doubt that work ethic and that communal sense would thrive.
Yep.
Sort of the foundation of any unified society is a common culture, a common ethnicity. Irrefutable. That's one thing that Dawson didn't understand with this debate with Halsey. One thing that I do understand. It was a guy by the name of, I believe, Franz Boas, who, a Jew, mind you, who most of his followers were also Jewish, by the way, who turned the biological and anthropology sciences from a racial-based perspective to a cultural-based one. And it wasn't due to any sort of unbiased fucking scientific inquiry. He had the fucking conclusion in mind beforehand, got to seek out evidence that disproved the biological basis of race and promoted anybody that would follow that. And I can't remember her name. It was just some woman who wrote this that I also can't remember the name of. Basically, it went and said that tribal, primitive peoples of the world had it all figured out, like in Africa or wherever. They had it all figured out. They were happy. They were they were great.
Well, yeah, I
But
do find that
whenever they
perplexing is that we have all these technological advances which are supposed to make us wealthier and have more time for more useful things. But because of the sort of the corporatism and stupid shit like minimum wage, you can't actually work the amount you want to work. People can't actually work to the exact level that they want to because we have like all these shitty restrictions and problems in our and like state intervention in our economy. And so people are forced to work to meet like price inflation caused by the central bank. And despite having all this fucking technology, we have less time than the feudal peasant who got like a bunch of vacation days due to the seasonal work
oh yeah,
and had
and
its
they
own
also
fucking
had that
plot of land and at least lived among
yeah
nature and had like a fucking like
the
lived
whole
better than the poor schmucks in like working urban minimum wage.
yeah, and I feel you there, man. Fucking they were actually there was almost more social medieval social mobility in the medieval
There
times
was, yeah, like if
because
you
if you
got buddy or became a merchant or like got in with the aristocracy, you're up there and your family's gonna be up there for a long time.
right if you were smart and you were talented and you were clever and you were ambitious and hardworking, you could definitely move your way up into the
Yeah,
Evelons of society. And even the peasants had it better than a lot of the lower class people these days. Fucking, they just didn't have the same sort of modern luxuries.
yeah. I think it also just stems from too many fucking people. Too many people is what the state wants. A shit ton of people, increasing the GDP, more workers, cheaper labor, all this stuff. But
Right, and
fundamentally,
the more
fundamentally, if you're a person already living, you want less people to compete with in this society. And
yeah, and it also comes down to quality versus quantity. The more people
yeah,
we have, the less smart people we're gonna have. We're gonna have more drones, and they're gonna outnumber the the more talented people, and it's gonna lead to a lot of fucking problems.
a
And I think
talented politician will manipulate the mass to their own. goals.
I
It's
almost think that it was deliberate. Like this whole increased birth rate not only was a result of just the fact that we had better medical technology, but it was sort of a deliberate thing where we have medications like just like with my elderly father, man. They have a shit ton of medications that artificially extends your lifespan to the point where you can live from 80 to 100 years
yeah,
old, something that was very rare back in the day. But it doesn't do anything to improve your quality of life. You develop more and more problems the longer you
yeah.
live, and your
This is
standard
why I
of living
think everybody would be fucking
decreases.
happier if we lived in the United States where the federal government was particularly fucking toothless and did not have much say or gain in the society. We just had 50 states with 50 nuke silos to uphold MAD, and we just lived in these little states, and each of them had their different policies that would appeal to people. That would just be better for everyone involved. But obviously, the ZOG will never allow that.
And fucking even Greeks talked about this. You know what? The problem, one of the biggest problems with democracy is that it requires a well-educated, involved populace. You know, it's like asking a bunch of fucking farmers to captain a ship, sail it. They don't know anything about captaining a ship.
Yeah.
Why would you ask them to?
And then
That
when
was
you get
the
to a population level we have, even in local elections, your vote, like mathematically, is irrelevant. The act of voting is irrelevant.
yeah, especially in the modern age, fucking. No matter who you vote for, they're all controlled candidates. And even if by some fucking freak power of nature, somebody that isn't directly loyal to Zog gets in there, they're gonna do what they're told, or they're gonna be kicked out or killed. That every time. The only real method for true and tangible change, good or bad, be for the people to collectively awaken and decide to take action. No individual man is going to change anything in this modern era. It's going to take a collective effort. It's not like it used to be. You can't just fucking go out, get some gold, raise an army, and carve out a kingdom. It takes an entire fucking species of people deciding to unite under one banner and doing something about it. And until that day, we're just
But yeah,
larpers on the internet.
the thing is, there'll never be a populist revolution when like people can be so placated by simple welfare trinkets, yeah, and fucking and the price of food
Yep.
and infinite entertainment.
It's true, the devil rules the modern world, man. He really does. It's just all these distractions and God, you got fucking dopamine cannons coming at you 24/7 from the TV and the
Yeah,
radio
everybody's
and the
stuck on a
fucking
fucking
movies.
dopamine treadmill. Yeah,
Yeah, they're not even conscious. They're not even human
barely.
in the
Yeah,
same sense. Before the 19th century, when the Industrial Revolution, most people were usually sheep. The weak have almost always been ruled over by the strong. But in the modern age, it's different than it's ever been. We have such a deep understanding of the human psyche and how it works and how most people operate. And
that's why
few and the
my
strong and the perceptive are able to fucking exploit that to
yeah.
the fullest extent. You know, in a systemic, methodological, fucking ruthless basis from every angle, every fucking industry, every fucking field of science, everything has been infiltrated for the specific purpose of absolute control.
True enough, but I mean there are factions fighting against it. But those factions, honestly, it's the more sociopathic you are, the better you'll succeed in the systems that we currently have. And like we'll have the sociopathy will rise to the top of the system because they'll be willing to go the extra step and do shady shit under the table that will push them over, or pressure politicians or other stuff like that. And that's why we have like Google and Bezos and all these people on top, and they're shady and as immoral as fuck, and they don't give a fuck. But
Right,
there are
and it,
moral rich people and moral fucking collections of wealth and political capital in society, but they're just dwarfed by the sociopath side.
yeah, because I honestly, my belief is that it's a hallmark of the truly brave to be honest and to be good and to try to act in a way that is not only beneficial to yourself but to the people around you. You know,
Joe, can
try to
stop
create a better
raging
world.
in chat, please? Thank you.
But
Uh,
fucking problem is it's a lot easier to be selfish. It's a lot easier
it
to
is.
not care. It's a lot easier to be nihilistic, misanthropic, cynical, and self-absorbed and greedy. That's why so many people up there do it. Because
I'm
instead,
sorry I triggered you so much, Laheim. I'm sorry.
it's a big fucking burden to try to improve the lives of the people around you and self included. But it's so easy to just let it all go and eat up whatever the fuck looks tasty in front of you. You know,
Well, I mean, yeah, it's just
a snake
people.
on the ground.
Well, first people have to understand like where they sit in. God, you're fucking bipolar live. People got to understand where they sit in broader society and understand when they're being manipulated and when what they're thinking and doing is like just a result of um, social pressure and education, all this other stuff. And if they can't recognize that that's what's going on in their head and that's what's motivating their behavior with other people, then they're not even at a functional level to begin solving the broader social problem. If they can't even recognize, well, they'll recognize one problem in society and don't even understand that they're just being pulled along on the string of society itself.
Yeah, and that's a great point because fucking I'll pretense this by saying that I don't think that I'm anything special. And I'll just
No,
leave it at
yeah,
that. But
fucking
I know that I have put a great deal of thought into a great many things over the course of my
yeah,
life. And I just have a genuine sort of curiosity and desire to know and to understand and to be humble and right, but also be good. And when I look at the modern person, the modern man, mostly amongst the youth and, well, people in general,
yes.
they are so they just
Uh, they
they're
they
sheeple, and it's cringy to say, but they are sheeple. They do not like to think. They can't. They just, I don't know if it's their IQs are too low, or
well,
they just
no,
don't
it's
care,
well,
or
it's
just
that, but
they've been so cucked mentally,
they have been
and it's
mentally
just
cut, but
they are so weak
yeah,
and spineless, and they
the
don't
reason
care.
they're weak and they don't care is because they've been convinced through the social media systems, which basically turn you into the hero of your own story, and they just turn people into narcissists over time. Like
Yep.
people who otherwise humble and socially normal and didn't like beat their chest and act like a fucking retard uh, will turn into faggot narcissists over time because because that's the behavior that gets the most upvotes. And since they're the hero of their own story and they get all the attention from the circle around them that is freely available thanks to the internet. uh, Nothing will break their narcissistic delusion or make them humble, and they will continue. And this is just, it's common to such a degree. It's like fucking uh, society level narcissism. And if you don't temper it in some way, like it's just like the fucking um, what you would call it. Uh, I don't even know. It's like a mass madness. Everybody thinks they're going to be like a millionaire movie star. Sort of. Everyone unironically believes the fucking dogma they were told in the kindergarten, where everyone's special and you're going to be really successful and all that shit. I'm like, what?
Yeah, man, it's fucking terrible. They've deliberately pathology, like I said, through Freud and through media and through Edward Bernays and through just everything from anthropology to IQ to fucking just all of it.
Yeah.
They have conditioned people in a very deliberate, specific way, systemically. They have an agenda, they have a belief structure that they want to impose upon the masses of people because they know what those beliefs will lead to. They understand the consequences of these actions. They pathologize collective identity in whites. They talk. They spread degeneracy through sexual promiscuity and drug abuse, alcohol, marijuana, shitty fucking nigger music, nigger rap. I can't tell you how many people I met that
Well,
even
yeah.
even in this community that
Even
listen to
people
nigger
who
fucking
hate
rap.
rap music, basically they act like niggas. Like the only thing that'll come out of their mouth is my dick, my money, my cars. Whenever they're trying to, get a room of people on their side, and it's just like, well,
Because even the people that can handle the sort of humor in this little niche or can awaken to certain aspects of the world around them, the Jewish question,
yeah,
whatever it is, even they come to that point, like you said, where they still, for whatever reason, their only main concern is their social status and their material gains and their It's a dick waving contest, whether in real life or on the internet.
Yeah,
Everybody's waving their fucking dicks around,
and you
saying
shouldn't.
I'm better than you because I do this or that, and you don't.
And it's
You know,
fundamentally
it.
the normie social media standpoint. It's not the anonymous standpoint. It's not the old internet forum standpoint. It's the Twitter, the Instagram, the Snapchat. That's exactly how these people act. And when people get annoyed at them when they act like this in these communities, they're just like, imagine my shock, because they've just been inundated in the stupidity of the fucking the normal social
Yeah.
media dick waving, dick sucking contest. And
And
so
I
so
get,
when people don't care about their dick wave, they're like, oh, you gotta care. Why don't you care?
and I get the fact that not everybody can be an anon, because if everybody was an
Yeah.
anon, the world would collapse instantaneously. But the one thing that I appreciate most about anonymity is that it's supposed to be about being able to talk to people in a sort of neutral way, where truth behind them doesn't necessarily matter. You're judging ideas and conversations by their merits, you know? You're not going at them on a personal level. You're
No.
going at them based upon what they propose and what lays behind that. You can't fucking pull the real life fucking card. It's all about the sort of anarchy of
It's all
ideas, the
about just
flurry of them.
talking about the conversation itself, not the blog posting.
But people they feel as though they're being personally attacked whenever someone can agree.
When their opinion is being attacked, which is fucking goofy.
And I knew people like that back in fucking high school, you know, that listen to fucking metal music, for example, or any kind of music. Like you don't like a band they like, or you don't like the fact that they associate their entire identity with a genre of music that they listen to. Yeah, I like metal, but I like jazz, and I like blues, and I like rock and roll, and I like fucking all sorts of different shit. Depends on my mood. I love music as a whole, and I try to find new music all the time from any kind of genre that fits it. But when you associate your whole identity with one thing, whether a genre of music or an ideology or a fucking hobby, you know, whatever, it's a reflection of an insecurity and a hole that we all have in us, so to speak, that we're all trying to fill.
Well, yeah,
But the way I see it is that you need to fucking look everywhere for truth. You can't subscribe yourself to one rigid structure for any sort of fulfillment in life. You have to be able to open your
no,
mind to all sorts of things and
exactly.
be humble and listen to other people. Try your best to be close to other people, because I know it's hard for people that are more in their head, but you need people.
You do, and you need to not care so much about their problems and their downfalls, because ultimately, even if you coach them about their social life success, you're not doing anything on a broad scale. Like you're just basically you're making yourself feel better at the end of the day, rather than actually helping people. If you
One of the
if
most
you
profound.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry,
you
sorry.
go
Go ahead.
you go ahead. I don't have anything.
Oh, I was just gonna fucking cut in real quick and say that fucking one of my favorite pieces from the Bible is "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone."
Yeah.
Because
The
you know, you and obviously some people are just pieces of shit, and that's not. I'm not trying to be a Marxist here and say that you shouldn't criticize other people, but it is important to recognize that most people, if not all people, have problems, and
Everyone has
so you should.
problems.
Yeah, so you should be careful when you try to cast death and judgment upon other people.
Yeah, and
And you
that's
try to
and that's
fucking
the fucking the foolhardiness of the authoritarian on either side, is that the second that a person you don't like comes over the reins, they're suddenly using their shitty judgment and fucking morals, and then they're destroying your society. Like, that's exactly what happened in the U.S. So we had all these systems in place, the fucking media, the church, and all this, and then they got destroyed and subverted by the same systems.
yeah, that is one of the more bigger peaks of authoritarianism is the purity spiraling and the lack of consensus regarding what is and what is
Yeah,
not
and
pure or
then
righteous.
if you didn't
And
have the big government to begin with, the problem would have never arose.
right,
Yeah,
just when you have a bunch of more or less decentralized states with their own powers and abilities, it does prevent federal tyranny or corruption, but it could also end up in a situation where there isn't enough unity to sort of defend the borders or
yeah, I don't think that's that relevant in the
pass,
modern world.
perhaps not due to the fucking technologies we have, but more or less fucking
It was certainly
Perhaps even
relevant up until World War II. Like they had to make themselves more centralized and powerful because of like the fact that people were literally trying to fight each other for world domination. But now that the nuke has like ended the land war as we know it in developed countries, and I think you can go back to the decentralized area and be fine. You don't need to worry about it anymore.
yeah, and I'm
You
not.
might lose out on some geopolitical pressure. You might lose out on some marginal wealth internationally, but you're going to be happier and wealthier overall because you've gotten rid of the shackles of a fucking corrupt
Yeah,
shitty
and I
system.
would advocate for a decentralized system, more or less. I just what I'm trying to propose here is that it needs to be handled quite well, and it needs to be led by people that understand what they're doing. Because if I can end up with a decentralized state, sort of a like I said, the 50-state system,
Yeah.
you you have to still have a sort of national
Ultimately, the
unity.
Federalists won over the non-Federalists because of their ability to provide better political goods to the people who voted for them and like the various lobbies. But the non-federalists were correct in that in the long term you don't want to centralize the power.
Right, you're absolutely right. And fucking that's what I'm saying is that fucking these decentralized states need to be run effectively, and the people would need to be involved and educated so that they can not only provide the sort of system they want in their own respective states, but also do that in a way that uh, doesn't entirely fuck over the other states. There has to be a sort of national consensus, not necessarily a centralized federal power, but the states would have to work alongside one another,
Yeah.
or else there will only be stronger and stronger urges and movements towards centralization, federal power,
You could
big government,
argue
because
it's
they act as the
cyclical.
mediator. They act as the mediator, so
Yeah,
to speak.
you could argue it's cyclical that the good intentioned philosopher kings, if you will found the well run decentralized country, and then it'll become more and more centralized because the incentive will always exist, and it's sort of a just a historical problem.
Right, and you could try to argue what the fundamental principles behind all this is, the root causes of it, and you could say that one of the biggest problems is that the masses of people tend to be rather dull and conformist in nature, and there are always the minority of people that are ambitious and greedy and ruthless that try to exploit the modern political situation, and then that four-step stage that we've heard about all throughout history that strong men create good times
Sure,
create
yeah. I mean, it's sort of a
weak
meme,
men,
but yeah, the
but it's more or less true.
yeah, to an extent, but the I think that's why Christianity was useful is because it sort of had the archetype of the humble man was Jesus like the humble guy, the humble leader archetype, and that sort of elevated the average person to a more equitable level. But once a society abandons Christianity, it just becomes the sociopathy land where the sociopaths rule.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest contentions I have with Halsey, to go on a tangent real quick. I remember he said with Dawson that it doesn't matter that the Jews think they're better than everybody else or work with an in-group preference, because everybody does that. But theirs is the only ideology that has a fundamental belief in their own superiority, in the fact that it's okay to do anything to anybody that isn't Jewish. It's written in their holy books. This is the case.
Yeah, when he was debating
Christianity.
Dawson, he just like deflected and said, "Oh, that's just the radical Talmudists or whatever." But I don't know. I
Yes,
don't
and I
think.
have and I won't get into it now, but I do
Yeah, don't
have the
get into it.
responses to that. I do have the
Yeah,
responses for
yeah.
that.
Keep it under wraps.
Oh yeah. Fucking where were we?
Well, I guess we've gone for about an hour, so I'll go to the topic I originally wanted to talk about before we started the stream. So I was thinking that it's important for creative people who are more on the center right sort of side of things, who aren't doing uh, the traditional left wing art pathway, to really put yourself out there, dedicate yourself to making art that's not fucking the degen shit. Because if you look at art like Western art right now, Western society, cult like TV, artistry, all this writing, it's all fucking couched in the current degenerate zeitgeist. And since it's all couched in degenerate zeitgeist, the people who want alternatives or could be exposed to these alternatives and maybe form like a different, more moral view. They just don't have any alternatives, and so they'll inevitably the normies they're going to default to the degenerate cultural zeitgeist. So I think it's actually important for the right wing to fight the culture war on that fucking level. And people might say, "Oh, who cares about like video games being cucked or what all this other shit?" But it actually is important because that is where the normies get their values is literal pop art. And so I think creating less degenerate right wing pop art is actually kind of important if the right wants to win in the long term.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. And what would you say would be the best, or rather your own personal preference as to what the best medium is? Do you think
Well, it's whatever you
offering
can manage to
novels,
do, right?
right? So just anything, novels, poetry, song, fucking film, anything.
Yeah, anything that you have the capacity to do. I mean, film has become it's extremely cheap to make like film now. Like if you get a usable camera and editing software is free and all this stuff. So if you can find some like-minded people and just put together some indie films that advocate for your side of things and do that. Yeah, obviously writing is the thing about writing in the West. It's sort of a dead genre for boomers. Like the only people who really read now are like boomers and then maybe young adults, and then they stop reading once they get to a certain age. They stop reading books. So I don't really know how novels are going to fit into things. So I don't know. You'll have to find like an alternative of some sort.
Yeah, unfortunately, a majority of the youth that I've ever encountered that read anything are, college students for the most part, and then of course they're only consuming the
Loki,
texts, which now they're reading Marx.
Marx and Loki.
Yeah, they're
I had
reading
to read
Marx in
Marx like
college.
three. I had to read Loki like 3 times in college. The
And I've
second
actually
treatise.
I've talked to girls that I used to know back in middle school that I would fucking go out with or whatever.
Yeah.
And fucking I know them in college, and all of a sudden they make statuses like, I'm listening to John Lennon and reading Karl Marx. And I ask them, why do you think it is that they'll ask you to read Karl Marx in school, even though communism, you might not know this, led to the death of over 110 million people. Yet you've never seen Mein Kampf passed out in the college classroom. Why is it that in your
Well,
writing class you're learning about the Holocaust?
point there. I know, right? Holocaust class.
I paid $600 for that shit.
Fucking Holocaust class.
You know how much fucking beer I could have bought with that money?
Yeah, I had to go to some really cucked anthropology courses to fulfill a general ed when I
Yep.
was doing my degrees.
Thank Franz Boas and all the cultists that followed him.
Yeah, but yeah, it's important for there to be a popular, like a repository of popular right wing authors of works in society. And so if you're out there listening or whatever the fuck, then you probably should think about devoting some time, or if that's something you could bother doing, then you should produce more fucking fiction with the old values that people can consume. Then hopefully that would shift the things a bit.
Man, the one of the main obstacles standing in the way of the aspiring right-wing artists is self-doubt, and the fact that even historically artists have always had a difficult time sort of feeling confident in their work because, well, that's just the nature of the artist. Anybody that makes anything understands that you'll probably hate your own shit a majority of the time, regardless of the reception. And that is almost deliberately, no, it is deliberately fostered in the people that you shouldn't create, you should destroy, you shouldn't make, you should consume.
Yeah.
It's deliberately the people are dulled down
And
to
if
their
you want
primal instincts
you
and
want
urges.
access to the sort of the institutional creative support, you got to be like a raving communist.
Exactly.
Like Sam Hyde made some off-color, slightly right-wing jokes in his television program on Adult Swim, and it got canceled just because of his personal politics. It's just fucking garbage.
And look at JonTron.
Well, JonTron hasn't really faced too much problems, but there was that whole drama with the stupid
Well,
ukulele.
yeah, but that's an example. Like, just express a moderately realistic right-wing opinion, no matter who you are, and people are gonna fucking lose their shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
and that's why there has to be fiction. Like these people, like they just keep themselves quiet to themselves, and they keep quiet, and they don't, obviously, because they don't want to face the social ramifications of saying all these things in the environments that they're in. And if they had fiction to consume of their own that wasn't degenerate and they had a steady stream of it, then they'd certainly be much more motivated to keep with it and not eventually fold to social pressure.
But I would argue that while you're absolutely right, it's harder to impart red pills in fiction.
I don't think so.
I mean, not necessarily. You're right. Not necessarily, but it's harder to craft, a good, coherent story with good characters and just all this, everything that a good story requires, and also impart red pills. It's almost easier to just sort of,
not really.
If you're at the very least a poetic person, you can sort of lay out truth. But you understand that you're writing a VN yourself. You understand that it's very time consuming and a mentally draining process to try and forge a great story while also imparting
that's it,
a
but
deep
that's just
message.
more of the writing. I think it doesn't even have to be like an amazing master work. It just has to be embody values that aren't the modern degenerate ones. Has to embody family values and a bit of anti-materialism and some traditional roles for women and all this other stuff and liking feminine fucking aesthetics. Like put all that shit in your story, make it entertaining to read, and there you go. You have it's culturally. It might not be like the fucking a masterwork, but if people read it, then those values will be imparted to them through osmosis.
Yeah, it might be in part because of my nature. I'm always trying to be a perfectionist with what I write. But fucking
yeah, you just want to write your functionally the best story you can, and then shade it in the ways, in the ideas that you would like, that you think are virtuous. I mean, and you'd honestly, you'd do that naturally with what the subject matter you write about and the characters you would have as your protagonists, and you'd be doing that naturally anyways. But all you need to add is like a little bit here and there to push it over that edge.
I've very often thought about doing film. I think that I could put on a pretty good show, but I always approach it in my mind as more of a visual thing. I don't even think about writing the script. I just sort of play out scenes in my head between different characters and what their beliefs are and how they clash with one another. I haven't written many stories. I usually just write poems and raps. Well, I never write rap. I only did that a few times. I write poems, and sometimes I just write my fucking butts. But I try to do it in a poetic fashion.
Yeah, the fucking it's really just you gotta build the discipline and work at it every day and just have like your time you set aside with however much time you have and just work. And it is work. You'll have your creative output. You'll have your outline with your amazing idea for a story and then like the interesting aspects of it. But then you're going to have to write like the day to day, if you will, the random aspects, the small details.
Yeah, and that's always the worst part, like fucking point A to point B is a hell of a fucking thing to tackle sometimes,
Yeah, it's a matter of building discipline and then working on it through time.
Yeah, fucking your dog's barking.
Yeah, I know my dog's barking.
What kind of dog is it?
Oh, a border collie. He's a cute boy.
Little yipper.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of King Charles Cavaliers growing up. They're pretty old now. They're fucking adorable. Attention whores, though. I'd like to get myself a big dog one day.
Yeah, I like medium to large dogs. I don't think the small dogs are like they count as real dogs.
They exist as a result of a ton of fucking breeding.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any wolves used to look like a fucking chihuahua.
Honestly, I should have a no girls allowed policy in my chat. Do you agree, Diogenes?
Oh yes, I just saw Queen of Bants in the chat.
I should ban anyone who professes to be a girl in the chat.
Yes. Well, no.
No roasties allowed.
I'm not saying yes or no. I'm staying neutral here. But what I do know is that there are no girls on the internet.
And that's right. So anyone who pretends to be one obviously is a fake person and should be banned.
Precisely. I don't understand what's so hard for people to get about that rule. There are no girls on the internet. Fucking, it's easy to understand. You're on the internet. You can't pull the woman card on the internet.
Exactly.
You're not there. So when you try to, you're
And
clearly just trying
that's
to.
another problem with people who obviously normies come from the social media sphere, is they still care about the vajayjays, uh, on the fucking internet, which is like if you're gonna make fucking streams about politics, what the fuck are you doing?
Exactly. And fucking what was I gonna
Stop
say?
purity spiraling, Laheim. Stop. You're a purity spiraler.
I'm pretty sure, like I've always called him Wahim, but upon further infection, I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Laheim.
That's what I default to Laheim.
Laheim is the Jewish pronunciation, as far as I'm aware. I've always just thought it was Wahim. So I don't know if I should just keep calling him Wahim for consistency. If you did tell me that, Laheim, I'm sorry, I don't remember. I was probably drunk when you told me. What? Yeah, it is a. Have you ever seen the movie? You probably haven't, but have you ever seen the movie fucking what was it called? Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
No, I never heard of it. What's it about?
Well, it's about what was his name? I can't remember the name of the actor, but the dude from fucking Step Brothers, not the one from Zoolanders or whatever the other one. We're fucking. He's a rock star, basically, 60s, 70s onward. And it's basically just sort of a combination of the satirical, fucking stereotypical Jewish perspective of Jim Morrison and fucking Jagger and fucking just Roger Waters, all that shit. But fucking basically, I was just gonna get in a few instances in the movie. Like in the beginning, he's just working in a nightclub and he's gonna play the guitar, subbing for the usual player. And he's like, "Hey man, I don't want to put any more pressure on you, but the suits from the fucking record company just showed up." And then it cuts to him, and it's just a few fucking Jews standing there. Oh man. But yeah, throughout the whole movie, the only people that he ever works with in the music industry are Jewish. So I just thought it was a pretty good red pill for a fucking otherwise degenerate movie.
Were you just watching degenerate movies all day?
No, I saw this movie a while back,
Oh,
but
okay.
it just surprised me.
Yeah, like even though the artists are overwhelmingly left, they'll put like some red pills in there from time to time. But
Yeah, like one band I was really into back in the day, still am once in a while, like a fine wine, was the Doors, and Roger Stone, I believe his name was, a Jew, directed the movie, portrayed Jim Morrison as this savage, degenerate, misogynistic pig that fucking just did a shit ton of drugs, didn't make any sense, freaked out all the time, and that's not what he was like. And I hate how they fucking portray the best people as shit and all the worst people as
yeah,
great.
they have
Like fucking.
apologist propaganda films for like LBJ and Churchill, and then they have shit on you films for people like fucking JFK and Nixon. It's like, okay.
But yeah, I mean, sorry, Laheim. I apologize for mispronouncing your name this whole time. That is a result of my own overwhelming ignorance to the pronunciation of Jewish names. I hope you'll forgive me for this transgression. Anyway, Jeff, you were saying.
Um, what was I saying? I don't even know.
Alright,
Well,
we'll move on.
we were just talking about degenerate film and how they have propaganda film for that put LBJ in a good light and then Nixon
Yeah.
in a bad light and all this other shit.
Oh yeah, Oliver Stone was his name. Yep. Good on you, Annan. Good on you. Anyway, fucking what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, degeneracy in film. Uh, like it's really fucked up because when you start to realize all the shit that they try to impart into media, you start to see it everywhere. Everywhere. Even the shows you used to like back in the day, you watch them again and you're just like, holy shit, this is degenerate. You know? Like I was watching that '70s show last night. And then I realized, holy shit, you got a foreigner fucking comes in here and fucks white women. And then you got the fucking the cool kid Hyde wears a Che Guevara shirt and white knights for women and fucking is a degenerate. And then you got Eric the cuck. You got Donna the feminist, and you got Kelso the retard. I'm like, holy shit! I used to watch this show. But this is what they're trying to turn the white race into: cucks, retards, Marxist degenerates, feminists, and foreigners. I was like, holy shit. And the father is this fucking commie hunter that says that if the U.S. government wants to put a tracking device up your ass, you say, thank you, God bless America.
Well, I'm going to ban you if you don't stop telling me to ban people.
He says that caring about anime is the equivalent of helping Zug, and I can agree halfway. I mean, if you only care about anime, sure. If you obsess over it, nothing else, sure.
If you're
but it is
ascendant to the 2D realm, yeah. But I mean, it's the right wing fiction that is available today.
Yeah, that's why so many fucking alt-righters become, get yellow fever and watch a shit ton of animes, because it has more right-wing implications more so than Western media, anyway.
Yeah. But paying taxes will cause more damage to your anti-Zog plans than watching anime ever will. Keep that one in the back of your head.
I've always wanted to fucking make an anime, but I don't know shit about
making an anime. Well, with modern digital practices, it actually isn't that difficult. But I mean, it is a shit ton of work and effort. And you need like billions of dollars to fund an anime studio.
Yeah, fucking but I don't know if I could make anything coherent. I would just. Well,
I don't ban anyone from chat. I just joke about it. I would never ban anyone from chat for any reason. Like they could do whatever the fuck they want in chat.
Yeah, banning people from a YouTube chat is pretty autistic.
Yeah. Banning and blocking people is like autism, fucking high lord.
Yeah, like I don't block people. I don't ban people. I don't do that shit. Fucking, if I don't like what they're saying, I just won't.
Yeah.
I just won't involve myself with it. But it's different for people that have more eyes on them, I suppose.
I guess. I don't know.
I'm just a fucking.
Like some of the most successful streamers don't like moderate their chat and they just let the shit show go.
Yeah, I mean, they tend to be more focused on other things, like whatever the hell's going on in hand. But when you're a smaller, insular community, there's more involvement, so to speak.
Yeah. I just never thought, like, I've always been hard free speech to the point of, like, I don't give a fuck what people are saying in the middle of the street or any of that sort of stuff. Is it more moral to try to fight the decline or to enjoy it? Well, you should definitely be trying to fight decline, but you should not be paying taxes to a government whenever you can help it, because that government is definitely putting you 2 steps behind for every step you go forward when you pay it money. Because it's ruled by Zog right now.
Yeah, the only fucking. Like, it's not a positive side, because obviously if we weren't in this situation, you wouldn't get them or need them, but fucking I got my tax returns back.
Yeah.
I don't know when, but I checked my bank account and all of a sudden, hey, I have more money. But
I hate how they fucking do that. The fucking IRS. It's like they'll take your money for the taxes, even if you're on such a low income bracket. You don't even have to pay them, and then they'll take it. They won't pay you any interest, and they'll just give you like a tax return, which is just the money that you paid them before. It's fucking retarded. They should at least give you a fucking interest return on it, because they're just fucking taking their money without any. It's honestly no fucking investor would ever stand for that shit.
They don't care.
Also, income tax is a retarded tax, and all economists will agree income tax is like the stupidest fucking thing.
Oh yeah, like I know that this seems obvious to me and probably a lot of people, but fucking this is something that people need to understand. It's very important. Is that the income tax was instituted the exact same time that Woodrow Wilson created the Federal Reserve. They shifted the economy from something controlled and tenable to just worthless debt stamps owned by private institutions, and they created the income tax to fucking cover the fucking bill, the interest on the loans that the Federal Reserve lends to the government on interest to use their worthless currency. The taxpayer fits the fucking bill. It's a fucking scheme. It's a scam. It's fucking. There's no economic benefit to it except for the people that own it. That's what's led to this unlimited, never-ending inflation that's dug us all into the fucking ground. It's only gonna get worse until it all fucking collapses.
Yeah, like the international banking system will always override your whatever little political group you're fucking doing. It's just so much fucking money. It's ridiculous amounts of money.
But it's not about the amount of the money.
Yeah,
It's about the fact that they print the money.
exactly.
They own the money supply. It's not just a bunch of rich people that have a shit ton of money controlling everything. It's the people that print the fucking money. The Rothschilds, the Warburgs, the Rockefellers.
Modern monetary theory. Are you referring to someone in the chat asked about it? Modern monetary theory. Are you referring to just like the neoliberal Keynesian ability of like that you can print yourself out of the depression and you can use various methods to keep yourself neutral and avoid inflation? Is that what you mean?
Hey, Jeff, can you explain this to him for like 2 minutes and I'll just be back
Oh yeah,
real
sure.
quick? I just got to make a phone call real quick. I'm real sorry, man.
No problem.
All right, be right back.
Well, yeah, I don't know what you mean by modern monetary theory. Exactly. I know there's neoliberal monetary theory. There's Keynesian, neo-Keynesian, but modern's a bit too vague. It's gross. I like the cheese and milk. Neoliberal is its own term. Well, what does it mean, ABC Def? Because I know there's neo-Keynesian monetary theory. What does modern mean? Is it Austrian? What is it? No welfare, but no taxes below the poverty line. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we shouldn't. I think this is one of Trump's points that he was actually campaigning on. Was getting rid of the need to file taxes under a certain income. I don't know. I don't think that actually got through his plan, sadly. Throw shade at L'Haim. It's funny. Honestly, I don't need to throw shade at L'Haim. He does it. He does himself no favors. I don't need to add on to it. If you enjoy it, don't really mind. Just like to argue what the best animals for farming. You're arguing about why goats are a shitty animal and you should farm cows instead. Okay. Kareem is not afraid to report people to the feds. Interesting. Rams are the best. Wikipedia article. Fucking read your Wikipedia article, I guess. National currency, fiat currency established by the government. Sole supplier. So, do you saying? Do I agree with fiat currency works? Well, it does. It does work. It's like it's proven to work. If you go to extremes, it's proven to work because people like.
I'm back.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right that fiat currency has no inherent value and it's just like a debt promise of the government. But it's not like if you tell this to like the Saudi Arabian prince, he's going to be suddenly like, oh, I'm just going to throw away all my dollars, which can be exchanged for goods. Like it's just everyone implicitly agrees to the value. It's a market value. And if the government really fucks up, then it will crash. But the government has to like implode.
That's why people don't understand it. Like I've tried explaining this to fucking normies, people that I fucking know, and they can't wrap their heads around the fact when I tell them that money is worthless. They're like, "What do you mean it's worthless? Even if it like can't buy you as much as it used to back in the 50s, you can still take $20 and it's worth $20 worth of stuff."
There's no inherent value. It's a psychological gestalt.
Right,
the only thing that causes inflation is resource constraints and not necessarily money supply. It's kind of true because in order for inflation to happen in the economy, you need to have the new money be be being flown into the economy. It has to be flowing through it for the price pressure to occur, for the inflation to actually manifest. So if you just print the money and it's like not actually going into people's hands, then you're not going to have inflation. So it's not the money supply itself doesn't actually cause inflation. But I think there's certainly a little. I don't know exactly because the argument that the central banks currently make is that you need to print 2% a year to accommodate the new things added to the economy. But that's just like the American central banks. I think that's a lie because what you would really want is you would want 0% inflation. You would want to keep pace with your economic growth exactly with your monetary policy, which is what the European banks do. The ECB keeps price stability as their main monetary thing. So because they keep price stability as their main monetary thing, they don't inflate 2% a year. They just inflate just to keep everything at 0% price change.
Yeah, they print a shit ton of money every every day, every year, and they just persistently lend it to the government on interest, which the taxpayer fits the fucking bill for. And the constant saturation of the economy with more and more fucking worthless money increases inflation, just constantly. The more money you print, the less value it becomes, and it's not backed by anything anyway. It only benefits the people that have already accumulated a shit ton, and the people that fucking print.
Well,
does nothing.
All right, so ABC Def argues that we can create full employment by directly paying $50 people to work. Inflation will be negligible. No, inflation will occur because obviously inflation will occur in society. Like if you have a bunch of new people who are paid $15, all the people who own businesses are just going to raise their prices accordingly. And it's definitely just malarkey that it would not cause inflation. But if you did added $15 an hour and there was just literally just piles, and you put all these people to work on a project with like a pile of natural resources that was just sitting out there. There's just a pile of fucking natural resources sitting there underutilized, then yeah, you could argue that it won't cause inflation because you're actually generating wealth offsetting the difference. But if you literally just like pay people to dig up bottles at $15 an hour, then yeah, you're going to just have hyperinflation.
Well, yeah, and people don't understand the fact that just raising the minimum wage isn't going to improve anybody's quality of life because it's just a band-aid that doesn't address the root cause of the issue. Well,
it's not even a band-aid; it just doesn't even do anything. Minimum wage is completely pointless.
Well, right, it'll only worsen the root cause of the issue, which is the constant printing of worthless currency.
The minimum wage will cause like a few months of enrichment for the people on the bottom, and then all prices will adjust, and you'll be in the exact same spot you were before. Nothing will change.
Except even worse, because they're going to be printing more money to compensate for the money they're spending.
Well, it'll just be different zeros added onto things. They won't actually change people's values, the value of wealth that they have.
Right. But that's basically where we're headed. It's just going to be more and more fucking worse over time, and people's wages have been stagnant for God knows how long, and everything just gets more and more expensive. And the currency doesn't fucking increase in value. It only depreciates in value over time, and it's still depreciating to this fucking day. And it's not sustainable in any fashion. They keep pushing the debt ceiling, but people don't understand that ceiling is there by design.
Well, the sovereign debt is irrelevant. Doesn't matter. They can push it to infinity and doesn't matter.
Yeah, but most of our debt is fucking internal, and there's never enough money to pay off that debt. Because it's a deliberate systemic design.
But as long as we grow enough per year, a certain amount, then it won't be untenable to pay the interest on it. So we're fine.
Yeah, but it's fucking the people that fit those fucking bills, and their quality of life is only gonna fucking decrease over time.
Well, the thing about leverage is that you need leverage in society, or else nobody would have any business at fucking all. So the fact that we have massive loans supporting all this shit in society isn't terribly bad, because we should have leverage in our society. Fractional reserve banking does allow. Wealth doesn't come out of air, but it does allow people to be assigned currency efficiently, without like having a central actor go around and like drop fucking dollar bills from a helicopter.
Well, that's basically what they fucking do, because with fractional reserve banking, you put money in the bank, they lend that shit out, they run out of money to lend out to people, they print fucking more. You know,
Well,
it's
yeah,
just,
but the money's only lent out if they're doing something that produces wealth in society.
I mean, not necessarily, because that's, we can just go back to 2008 for that. They deliberately lended out shit tons of fucking money to people they knew wouldn't fucking pay it off. And when it crashed, they were able to fucking monopolize real estate and whatnot even more. They just bought all that shit up once it was fucking worthless. Fucking, it's not the central banking system isn't there because it's more efficient or because it's necessary. It's there because it benefits the people that fucking own it. And the people don't understand shit about economics. Even I'm not claiming to be an expert on it myself. I just know the fucking bullet points. I know that the Fed's fucked. I know that inflation is the result of the endless printing of this money, and then I know that it benefits the people that fucking work in the industry, the financial
You're right. It
sectors. But
benefits the people on top the most, but it's not that big a deal. It's like a 2% tax a year on your money reserves. It's supposed to encourage you to spend your money and invest it other shit in the economy,
well, yeah,
and
but
not put it in the bank.
materialism shouldn't be the basis of a fucking
You're right, and that's
society.
why there's lots of countries like Japan that encourage saving. Well, that's more of a cultural thing than it is a
But fucking, I mean, just back in the 40s,
central bank.
50s, even though the Fed was already established by that point, you could still fucking, you could get a summer job, and you could buy a car, and you could go to school, and you could get a career, and your wife could stay at home, and you could raise a fucking family of 10, 12 kids, and then you could fucking retire, and then you could still go on vacation. And
When there's
only,
many people and there's plenty of productive projects, and since we were fulfilled, we've met all the easy technological projects. There's not much else actual wealth to produce in society, so people are just twiddling their thumbs. That's where we are now. And that's just inevitable with the advancement of technology. I was going to answer somebody's question in the chat. What do you think about decentralized banking, absence of a central bank like 19th century? Well, we're already moving towards that. We're moving towards that with cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is basically the old-fashioned decentralized banking where you have a bunch of currencies of fluctuating values and different banks who issued them, and people are putting their money in there with variable results. But that it's kind of the return of decentralized banking. I think it will lead to a good thing in the long run. And invest in crypto, guys. It's nothing but a good idea. The recent chemical tech. I haven't read up on the details. I assume it's either Israel or U.S. proxy or whatever, and then some people are getting bombed and they'll try to use it as a false flag, but nobody's gonna budge, and it'll like evaporate in like a day or two and won't care. We already know that the LOGH hates Syria and they want to fuck with it, and we already know that the right wing wants to protect Syria, but you know.
well, yeah, no shit, fucking majority of the countries, no, all of the countries that we've invaded in the past, say, 30 years have been countries that did not subscribe to international banking, or that did not, or did not subscribe to the oil trade being backed by the U.S. dollar. Syria, Iraq, fucking, even North Korea at this point, they don't fucking, they're not subservient to the international banking cartel. Fucking, the U.S. military is they're the fucking vanguard of banking internationally. People don't get that. They think it's about freedom and nationalism, but it's not. It's not. Iraq didn't have a central bank. Syria didn't have a central bank. Didn't trade with the U.S. dollar and oil. Look what happened.
It was just. I mean, that's just a geopolitical projection. That's just they want these countries to be our vassal states. That's all it is. It's not. It's not like some Zog banking conspiracy. That's just what we do to vassalize countries.
Yeah, but the whole driving force behind this was the fucking banks and the industrialists that yearned for these
Well, yes,
resources,
the
and they worked in
rulers of our
conjunction with one
country. Well,
another.
the rulers of our country vassalize other countries. That's what we do. It's called neo-imperialism.
Yeah, but that's why it's a Zog conspiracy, though, because
Kind of, but we do benefit from it in an extent. If they were just a bit more generous, we wouldn't be complaining.
the U.S. The general population of the U.S. hasn't benefited from this at
No,
all. I mean, the
well,
wars cost trillions of dollars. They fit the bill on that, and they fit the bill on fucking everything. And not to mention, they fucking fight, bleed, and die
well, yeah,
in the fucking wars.
the
It,
loss of life is terrible. I mean, economically speaking, we do benefit from people do get employed.
economically,
We do get employed. Just because we go in the hole, it doesn't matter that much. Debt, honestly, sovereign debt's irrelevant. You can have as much as a sovereign, as long as your borders are secure and people work in your society. You can have almost infinite amounts of sovereign debt. It's leveraged based off of your overall GDP, and since we have like the highest overall GDP, we can have the highest amount of debt. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah, but I'm coming at the angle from the internal debt and the fact that the banks that own our country and the industrialists that own this country are the ones that are, pushing for these interventionist policies, and they don't benefit the bulk of the population. They benefit the people pushing for it.
Well, yeah.
Economically, the
Well, the thing
country
is,
might prosper.
if our elites weren't a bunch of shitheads, they could just share some of their fucking gains from doing all this imperialist shit, and we'd be a lot happier. But they don't.
I mean, even if they were more generous and they wanted to appease people more and make more sacrifices to increase people's quality of life to a manageable level, even then, that wouldn't mean that the system that they have in place isn't in any way sustainable.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Imperialism isn't sustainable, but I mean, we're an empire.
I mean, it's not even.
We're just an empire who doesn't take care of their citizens. That's all it is. It's like we're Rome, but if we don't have any, our citizens.
Well, the difference between us and Rome is that in Rome they had a finite supply of currency, and it was mostly resource based. And
well, resource based currency doesn't work because you tie your entire country's wealth reserves at any given moment to the random valuations of the commodity you attach it to. So, like, if the price of gold crashes, then you're suddenly poorer for that month, and it might just end up destroying your country.
Right, and it's not to say that fucking resource based is the way to go, but it's
fiat is fine if you have proper people ruling your country. We do not. If we had proper people ruling our country, the fiat neoliberal systems do work. They mathematically and functionally work. It's just they're ruled by sociopathic Zionists. If they were ruled by nationalists, we'd be all right.
Well, I mean, that's basically where we need to come from as a nationalistic policy. Rome was a nationalist system, at least, before the fall, the degeneration into the crazy emperors and the empire late period. But we can't have a system where a small minority of banksters that have a monopoly on the money supply, not only the money supply, but the entirety of industry from fucking blue jeans to oil, control the political and socioeconomic landscape in any given country and expect people to reap any reward or to even have a sustainable fucking life. No, I mean, I'm not pretending like I have the economic or social or political solution to all these problems, but what I do know is that the system we live under it's just a big fucking cherry rig of
I don't know if they funneled. I think we wouldn't be complaining nearly as much if they funneled all this imperialist wealth into protectionist nationalist things for American citizens, and we were living like true kings, all of us, and all the plebs were getting shit on. I think we wouldn't care that much,
I mean, even if we wouldn't care, like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean it would be sustainable. And I don't think that
sustainable in the sense that it could last a few hundred years. I mean, imperialism has lasted hundreds of years before.
Yeah, and it always collapses.
Yeah, but I mean,
fucking I think that true nationalism isn't reliant upon constant expansion and victimization of other peoples. America, from its inception, was a very, very rich nation in terms of resources and economism. We don't need to be trying to monopolize everything on the world. That's just a fucking symptom of Zog thinking that they want to rule the entire goddamn planet and everything and everyone in it. But a true nationalist works with what he has, and maybe they'll fucking get imperialistic once in a while, take over some territory, but fucking this Tower of Babylon shit isn't gonna work for anybody. Not even them. Regardless of what they might think.
Well, it's not even a Tower of Babel shit, it's just using economic control to funnel money into the pockets of our Zog elite. Which is, I mean, it's sustainable in the sense that even if all these shitty countries collapse, it's not going to affect us really, just geographically and politically speaking.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I just live in a sort of naivete that countries in this world could just be nationalistic and
if we
take care of themselves.
Like we have a IMF control over the Caribbean, for example. If the Caribbean just like became a complete desolate wasteland of like violence and Mad Max because of our economic desolation of it, are we going to care?
I mean, Maybe not, but fucking, I can tell you now, there's gonna be a shit ton of virtue signals.
Yeah, and then we'll move on to the next day, and the virtue signal dopamine hit will have faded, and people won't care.
Oh no, the white devil fucked over another third world country. How sad.
Yeah,
Yeah, I forgot about that, but I was getting to this point earlier where in this one book that was from this woman that was a follower of Franz Boas, fucking, they said that the tribal fucking peoples of the world had it all figured out, and whenever they got questioned with questions about, the rapes or the violence or the poverty or the famine in these respective tribes in Africa or elsewhere, well, they attribute that entirely to Western influence. They say that these peoples were merely corrupted by the white devil.
yeah.
And these are the kinds of ideas
The
that,
tribal gang rapes were just because of the white devil.
yeah, and this is the kind of shit that Zog fucking perpetuates throughout our
Yeah,
society.
if
And
our
why do
elite,
you
if our extremely effective international military industrial complex cabal elite was in our corner, on it was in the American people's corner, we wouldn't really care about all the evil shit that they do. But because they just kind of fuck us over too, then yeah, we're against them.
well, that's because they're fucking Jews and they work for the benefit of the tribe.
Yep.
And their tribe is an entirely international clique because they've never had a home. And they don't care. They don't attach themselves to the land. They want to rule the land. They're not like other people. Uh, an ancient fucking conspiracy, an ancient tragedy playing itself out in the modern age.
Yep. And Christianity was just an anti-Roman psyop.
Yeah,
Jesus
it
was
had its.
a fucking CIA agent.
No, I'm a fan of Jesus.
He was a
He
crisis
called
actor.
he called out the fucking Jews. He called out the Pharisees. He called them the fucking worshippers of their father, the devil, and they crucified him for it.
It was all part of the 2,000
Jesus
year
wasn't a
plan.
crisis actor.
No, no, no.
He was the first punk rock.
It was all part of the 2,000 year plan to embody the people of the book in the minds of Western Europe.
I attribute the failings of Christianity to the Christians themselves, not to any deliberate attempt on the Jews to sort of hurt the West with it.
But Jesus was a Jewish guy.
Well, yeah, but he wasn't a fucking kike. He opposed the
But
status
he
quo.
spoke Hebrew.
Well, yeah, but fucking that's just a result of his birth, Like
I don't know. I think he was an agent.
he was actively opposed to the Jewish philosophy.
I
Why
think
do
the
you think
story.
he chased the Pharisees out of the temples with a whip?
Well,
Because he was on their
Diogenes is
side?
the story. It's not all historical. It's a manufactured tale.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what evidence is there to suggest that he was a fucking on par with the Jews? Why did they crucify him if he wasn't their fucking
He was
enemy?
the fall guy. It was a story designed to subvert and destroy the Roman Empire.
I don't know about that, man. I think the West was. I mean, I think the Roman Empire was already on its way to destruction. I don't think. I mean, even without Christianity, fucking their religious tradition and their tradition as a whole was already fucking collapsing. That's just what
Well,
happens when
no, their
fucking.
religion, the egalitarianism of the Christian religion destroyed the hierarchy of their society, and they eventually collapsed.
Yeah, but you can't attribute it to that alone. It grew too large, and they
I mean,
all their
yeah,
legions
there's
was mostly
other
comprised of
problems,
foreigners, and they had a great influx of
but why
foreigners
were
that.
they culturally able to accept so many foreigners all the time? Just because they converted to Christianity.
I mean, because the thing is, it was in the making long before Christianity. It was
Yeah,
Rome had grown very large. They had a great deal of land and resources, and it required more and more people to defend the borders. And Romans became a minority in their own country just due to the fact that they had conquered so much fucking territory. And so a great deal of foreigners, Germanic and otherwise, were recruited into the legions to defend these different posts. And as a result, over time, not only due to the fucking the hedonism, the degeneracy, and the materialism that stemmed from this affluent empire as a result of their conquest and economic prosperity, uh, fucking they lost their traditions, they lost their cultural homogeny, they lost their spirituality and just everything, just like we are today. And that was before Christianity. The seeds had already been planted; they'd already been growing. Christianity, I think, was created as sort of a response to this to the fucking
right. Yeah, for
selfishness
people in
and
the
the.
chat, I don't actually believe that Christianity was anti-Roman psyop. I just think it's an interesting conspiracy theory to think about.
Yeah, you got one thing you gotta understand about Jeff. Not a lot of people get this for some fucking reason. Is he likes to fucking put forward arguments he doesn't believe, to fucking
To
have a
just talk
conversation.
about the arguments. Yes.
The-
I don't actually believe that it was an anti-Roman psyop, but I just think it's an interesting thought experiment to think that Judaism had planned it out from the start, and that they even Christianity was all just to control the demolition.
any debater or any thinker has to be able to look at any given issue from both sides and think and argue and defend both sides if they want to have complete understanding.
Yeah. Speaking of which, if people in the chat about Christianity, I'll be doing some Bible videos. I was going to try to record them tonight, maybe, where I just go through doing a let's read of the Bible, and I'll give you some hot takes all the way through. I'm going to start with Genesis and so on, and just go through all the fucking books and read the whole thing. If you wanted to ever sit down and read the Bible, it's a good opportunity as a companion to read with a weeaboo face rig.
We're gonna have to get you fucking you and Leo Parrott to have a conversation.
Oh yeah, that's cool, dude. I'll read.
He's cool. He's a fundamentalist though.
He is a KGB fundamentalist.
Yeah, that is my main contention with him. Is I am not a fundamentalist. I have a more sophisticated outlook.
Because I'm honestly, I'll read the KGB because he suggested it. So that's the one I'm going to read. We're going to go through it. We're going to see what all the hubbub is about the Bible, and see where it goes.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. I look forward to the work. I would say that you can take as much time as you need to make it quality.
Yeah, I just got to get into the rhythm of reading the Bible every day, like a good boy.
Yeah, I did. That was all I did growing up. I was born and raised in the church, and it wasn't till I became a teenager that I started getting into the fucking edgy shit.
Christianity was a Roman psyop to control the people into believing one religion to try and save the empire. That's a interesting question, I guess. That's the other side of the conspiracy coin. That the Bible was actually written by Romans.
Nah. Fucking anybody that's one thing. Yeah, and that's fucking anti-Christianity thing in the modern age was largely perpetuated by them. Fucking anybody that wants to say that all religions, all systems are all supremacist in nature, you just read the fucking Talmud. It's the most extreme piece of theological text on the planet.
The Quran and the Talmud are just they just fucking hate everybody else, and they'll say, "Oh, we've moderated our views since then," but no, it's not
I'm of the opinion the Talmud is far worse than the Quran.
I imagine it would be, because they literally say that people who are non-believers are subhuman, while the Quran sees them more as targets for conquest and conversion.
Right. A lot of fucking principles in the Talmud are fucked up. Far worse than anything I've ever read in the Quran. Fucking violate a 3-year-old girl. Fucking give false testimony to Goyim. Fucking a Jewish fingernail is worth more than a Goy life. Like, come on, man. They're far more extremist than Muslims are, and that's pretty fucking extremist.
Yeah. Let's see here. Israel got 12 Syrians with 30 injured. So was it Israel? Did anyone in the chat know? Was it Israel who did the attack?
You know that they shoot Muslim dicks off in Israel to make sure they don't reproduce?
Yeah, they definitely hate them some mudskins there.
Oh man, I wish we could start doing that.
The Pentagon said it was Israel, so it could have been the U.S. Forces or Israel who bombed it. I mean, they're basically the same thing.
Fucking Mossad.
Mossad.
Fucking. I know. I like to say Mossad.
Mossad, why?
They're a bunch of fucking cows. They're golden cow worshiping ass. LOGH.
It appears so. The White House and Pentagon confirms it's not us. Pentagon said it was not a U.S. aircraft. Okay.
Well, I'm of the I don't believe anything the White House tells me.
Yeah, that's probably a good rule of thumb.
I don't believe anything mainstream media tells me. And I also don't trust anybody with 2 first names.
2 first names.
Yeah, like, Bruce Ryan, that kind of thing.
Or Joey Nelson there in chat. You don't trust that guy?
Nope. First names, I don't trust that motherfucker. Anybody with 2 first names, don't trust him. Learn from experience.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are reasonable Muslim people who live in these Muslim countries who, the moderate Muslims that the liberals like to talk about, but they just don't take any fucking effort to, the try and save the fucking reputation of the religion in Western channels.
The Muslims I like the most, the ones that talk shit on the Jews the most. And also, I've seen a handful of Muslims that have called out their society as being savage and antiquated, medieval in nature, and that they could take a page from the West in a lot of things.
Yeah,
Yeah, majority of them are
reformers.
cut in 1000 AD tier shit.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is the fucking the 1000 AD tribal LOGH cult that is more dangerous than the waves of Islam.
Yeah, they were kicked out of fucking Babylon for a reason.
But you shouldn't underestimate the danger of waves of Islam. If you look at their conquest, they've like destroyed.
Oh, I don't want Islam or fucking Jews in Europe.
They're a monoculture, and they've destroyed like all traces of the previous indigenous cultures and societies.
Oh yeah, that's how they fucking got their start. They fucking they rose up and they attacked the Persians, the Zoroastrians that had reigned in that region for hundreds upon hundreds of
If you look
years.
at the like Indonesia, they basically and like all those Polynesian Muslim countries, they destroyed all the other cultures.
Even the fucking Mongols that invaded Western and Eastern Europe, they fucking converted to Islam in the end.
Yeah.
It's a powerful fucking ideology. Very savage.
All right, we've gone for about 2 hours. Anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap up?
Let's see. What do you think about, well, let me just ramble for a second. I don't know if I'm going to be able to form coherent thoughts, but let's see. I was thinking earlier about the red and black pill. I think I brought it up earlier.
Yeah.
Fucking, the way I see it is, on one hand, you want to be able to try your best to make a positive influence in the world around you, yourself, while at the same time not becoming deluded and egotistical and thinking that you're going to be the savior of something or anything or anyone. But at the same time, you also realize the sort of monumentous challenge and almost the apparent futility in trying to awaken people that otherwise are just fucking
So
shit.
don't take immoral actions and be a complete degenerate and annoy things, but don't like sacrifice yourself or your happiness completely to try to be some ubermensch to save the entire society. Because one, you're not going to accomplish it. It's not going to happen.
So it's like all I can ever to is that it requires a
Just be a
collective.
fucking righteous man and hope it works out.
It requires a collective awakening amongst people.
Yeah.
To, agree upon these values. And the only thing you can really do to try and bring that about is to try and talk to people, wake them up, have conversations with them. But, we try our best to do that. Look what happens. We end up fucking tearing each other apart over e-drama, rotten meat in the street.
Exactly. That's
fucking dank alleyways.
When people have ideas tied to their fundamental identity, that's when it causes problems. And they're not just they're interfacing with the world. It makes up themselves, which is disturbing. Ideas shouldn't make you up. They're just ways you look at the world.
I think to myself that if these are the saviors of Western civilization, we're fucked. And once the West falls, I don't see any future for humanity.
I mean, you're right. If you look at the current most popular leaders of the alt-right, it's a complete fucking shit show. There's no fucking Thomas Jefferson. of the alt-right.
Yeah, it's just all the purity spiraling and the
Yeah.
tearing each other apart, and all the autism and all the black pills and all the egotism and all the
And
fucking dick
that's
waving and
why
all
you
the
just gotta
ego and
leave
just
it behind and just, be righteous, say righteous things, and live righteously. That's it. There's nothing else you can do.
yeah, I'm one of those naive, childish motherfuckers that likes to whenever I see an obstacle in my way, I like to think there's no reason I can't overcome it. I try not to be egotistical, but at the same time, I don't like to think that it's all just hopeless.
True enough.
The white man's burden, my friend. Always trying to overcome that which otherwise would
Yeah.
be natural law.
As Gal had in chat said, the alt-right is dead. The moving the Overton window has been achieved. You need to move out the idea space in the world. Yeah, people need to be in public, talking to other people, and doing so in a manner that embodies the sort of the right-wing anti-Zog beliefs. And it needs to be a normal thing, so when people walk outside of their house, that is what they encounter, and that is what society is made up of.
Oh, I agree
That's what needs to
completely.
happen. You need to stop LARPing on the internet.
Agree completely. I agree completely. Fucking,
Just be
we need
truthful
people that,
at your fucking work. Don't cuck at your fucking work.
yeah, we're not going to get anywhere if we just are limited to LARPers
Yeah,
and egotists on the
and
internet. It
abandon
has
the
to be.
fucking Nazi LARPers. You don't need them.
Yeah, you are more than free to recognize the values of National Socialism or the righteousness of the Nazis, but that movement is dead.
Yeah.
Like we
You're
need
not
something.
gonna beat the 200 years of fucking brainwashing against it. You're gonna have to just embody your beliefs and be anti-Zog in society.
Yeah, precisely. It's the struggle of our age, and the people that are going to be able to immortalize themselves in history or change anything are going to be the ones that are bold and smart and are able to take this struggle into the popular mainstream sphere. And the Overton window has shifted quite a bit over the past couple decades, and I presume that it will only get more acceleration as we go. And we need good people now more than ever. So, if there are any fucking autists out there listening, sitting around thinking all day, not doing shit, and you think you might be a little bit more capable than others, do what the hell you can. Speak out, write, do whatever the hell you're passionate about. Don't give in. Just do it. What the hell do you have better to do anyway? Just do what the hell comes to you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And that's about it.
Okay. I think it's a good point to wrap up the stream. Thanks for watching, guys. Any suggestions or things the chat wanted to say, just throw them out and I'll address them, and then we'll shut down the stream. Let's see here. Swastika is a symbol of opposition to decadent society. I don't know about that. There are plenty of people talking about racial IQ now, even in the New York Times. Well, I mean, it's just like an undeniable scientific fact. You can't have all the fucking psychologists agree that IQ is hereditary and thus it is attached to race. So it's just a fact. You can't run away from it anymore. Is Joachim shit talking me in his stream? No. Oh, I don't care.
I don't know what the hell he's like. What's with that, man? He was in the chat and then he decided to start his own stream.
I don't mind if he wants to go stream. It's fine. I'll go.
I mean,
have fun.
me neither.
But
I'm just confused. So we were talking about anime and
I don't know.
like what the hell? What triggered him this time?
I don't know. I mean, if that's just what Aqua said, I don't know if he actually was. I don't care. Whatever.
Oh well.
Anyways, do you think modern trade thinking is cargo cult? Well, free trade, it's kind of cargo cult, and if every country in the world did free trade, we would live in a fucking unimaginably wealthy fucking wonder world. But since everybody cheats in the game of free trade, we don't. So it's sort of unrealistic, and you just gotta take it from a more pragmatic perspective, where you don't take unfavorable free trades. Talking calmly doesn't usually give a level-headed response unless you intentionally pick someone who's actively trying to be open-minded. Yeah, that's true. People are very stubborn and learned in their ways. And yeah, and there's the sort of the matrix defense when people hear things they don't like. instead of arguing the point or trying to think about it. They just like repeat slogans and just think of you as the other.
I'm 99% certain the guy's name, the Russian, his name was Pavlov. Am I correct?
Pavlov dog, yeah.
Yep,
The dog and the bell.
Fucking
They're trained, and when they hear the bell,
Yep.
and then
Yep, they
I would
fucking
say that also applies to my fucking unemployment. When they say when I say I'm unemployed, they hear the bell rings, and the normies just they fucking come like tigers.
No, you're exactly right in a sense, because fucking I can't remember the
They're
exact name
fucking
for it. It's called
trained.
I believe it's called operant conditioning.
Yes, operant conditioning.
Right, and they associate a you know, a phenomenon of, you know, food with the bell. They associate a thing with a stimuli, and when they encounter that stimuli, they're immediately compelled to, you know,
By
think
shit
of
talking
this
unemployed
thing.
people, they get benefits socially.
It's the same with
and the bell rings.
the Jew. It's the same with the Jews. They perpetuate the Holocaust and the evil Nazis and all that shit their whole lives, and it's operating right there every time. When
Don't trust that shoddy Soviet pseudoscience. Oh, my internet died.
anybody even so much as critiques these people to serve their masters.
My internet's like
just
fucking
like training a dog.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think the stream may have went down.
Maybe. Nope. Looks like you're up.
I think the stream might have stuttered there. Well, we're gonna end it anyways.
Yeah.
Nice talk, guys. We'll do these more in the future with Diogenes. He's a cool guy.
I try.
Like chatting about stuff.
Yeah, I could have been better tonight. I was a little bit.
That's fine. It was
tired and faded, and I could definitely be more high. I could definitely be more high IQ in the future.
High IQ, yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. See you around whenever. See you on the interwebs. Peace out.
Yep. Goodbye.